Um, Next question then. What have you got any tips then to help with the research of the company and thinking about what kind of questions and maybe even like how to answer some of those cultural questions or making sure that you line up with the culture. I suppose in a nutshell, we've talked a lot about making sure that you're the right fit and you're going for the job and you're going for that company for the right reasons, not just the salary, which I'd like to get to in some of these questions actually. But yeah, do you have any tips on making sure that you research it properly, you can read between the lines properly, you know what you're going for?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the stereotype is when was the company founded, the year and things like that. And don't get me wrong, it's good information to have, but I think it's very generic. And
Hmm.
I think that anybody can go like on an about page.
Yeah.
For me, the way that I would use that information, let's say you've got a company that's been established for 50 years. You could, when you're doing your research, be like, think to yourself out the box, okay, what's this company been through? Oh, they've been through the pandemic. How did they cope with that? Oh, that's really positive, and kind of like get into the weeds of it, of how have they coped with like changes and how has that affected the business. And you should be able to find that on the website, on the LinkedIn, look back through posts of what they're doing. And then you can say, you can marry that up to the company values and say like, oh, for example, like, oh, I've seen that like investment in staff and investment in the team is something that's a real priority to you. And I actually saw that reflected during the pandemic when you allowed your workers to do X, Y, and Z. And I saw the support you were giving them, and I just that I really value that.
Hmm.
And then it's more personal than, well, the company was founded in 1912 by like, because anybody can do that, you know. So
Just on that, from my own experience,
yeah.
because I have worked somewhere for a rather long time previously, and I noticed the company culture change over
Mm.
that time.
Yeah.
So it takes a new chief executive, say, and they can change the culture quite radically.
Yeah,
So keeping up to date, I suppose, or reading some of the social media posts
exactly.
is probably more up to date than having a look at their about page. And in a lot of the, I
Yeah,
mean, bare minimum, you have to look at the about page, but try and find the social media posts and get an idea of their culture from that.
exactly. Looking at the way that their team interact together on LinkedIn. And I think it does say a lot, because if you do look at someone's LinkedIn and let's say like you're not interested in the whole we're all a family and we go for drinks every night, and if you're not interested in that, you can find that out on someone's LinkedIn or a company's LinkedIn, and you can go, do you know what, that's just not for me. So it can be really, really valuable to look at these things. Or like, if a company promotes that they work with parents over the 6 weeks holidays, to support, to understand with childcare and things like that, and they're more flexible, then that could be a value that really speaks to you, and you can really relate to. And the chances is, if that's something new that's come in, it's because, whoever's at the top
Hmm.
also has that value and understands that, that need. And that can be like a rapport building, bonding, like you want to build that rapport in that interview. You want them to understand you, and you want them to know that you understand them.
Yeah.
And then it will flow a lot more easy.
A question's just come to my mind actually around the cultural stuff again.
Yeah.
um, Say you're a new parent and
Yeah.
you've got a child at home. I noticed this at work. People of my age or younger having kids, they weren't able to go out on the Friday
Mhm.
evenings and stuff. It didn't mean that they didn't agree with the culture or didn't get along with everybody whilst they're at work.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just couldn't take part in the social events because they had family commitments. So I just want to clarify, if you are going for a certain organization that has these cultural events and things outside of work, but you are just not in a position to do that because of your family commitments
Yeah.
or whatever else, but you appreciate it, I suppose
Mhm.
that's still not going to stop you from bringing across in the interview that you actually see that you actually are on the same mindset of that culture, even if
Yeah.
you can't partake in it.
Yeah, and I think that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because if everyone's in different situations in their life, I think that like you say, it's not that you don't have that mindset, or like, the kind of like, let's go out as a team but not in work. Um I would say that nowadays people are a lot more understanding of other people's commitments. And if you're just honest and open, again, it's how you handle it, isn't it? It's how you communicate that, like, guys, I'd love to, or I can get a sitter like once every other month and I can come out with you and it'll be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing up in the ways that you can. So
Yeah.
if you're a bit worried that, oh gosh, I'm not part of this culture if there's other ways that you can kind of like bridge that gap, get to know people, like what's someone's favorite football team, like just kind of like build rapport in like different ways, because obviously you won't be missing out on that couple of hours on a Thursday or whatever. And it's funny because I have spoken to a lot of people who say, oh, they feel the pressure, but then it's just not really feasible for them because of other commitments. So my advice is always, build that rapport with each member of the team in other areas. Drop a message in the group chat. Hope you all have a great time tonight. Have one for me. That sort of thing. Ask people how it was the next day. Get involved that way.
I suppose there's always being involved with the organising it, even if you can't
Exactly.
attend it. And I'm wondering if that is also something that's going to look really good on your CV, or to mention in an interview to that kind of employer that wants to build a certain culture. If you can say, I set up a whatever it is at my old organisation to help with culture, then that's going to be a tick in the box for them as well. So it's kind of like extracurricular activities within the organisation, I suppose, that fits.